Recording is going. Oops. I do have to make sure that we are streaming the correct window. There we go. And we're up.
Huzzah!
All right. Welcome back, Gumshoes. So last time on A Crown of Cold Iron, having successfully wrapped up and resolved the situation with Alan Blake in the Cold Iron Rod, you all had a bit of downtime. Dates were had, family dinners, the harassment of some random legal representatives, and during that interlude, somewhere between an opportunity and a desperate plea came from one Lieutenant Davis to one Lexi, which has sent you all off investigating a string of mysterious and seemingly magical fires that have struck several religious institutions around town. Davis himself is a representative of the Solanists, a cleric who is currently working as a sort of combat chaplain for the Queensboro Police. And his suspicion is that someone is attempting to frame the Solanists by using magic to attack these other religious institutions. So you all received a list of where attacks have occurred up to this point, which included the Vesiny Lake Gathering of Spiritualists, the Vance River Gathering of Spiritualists, and the Falmouth Mordry Temple of the 100,000 Paths, which is, of course, where the Pathers are. Simultaneous to this, Auric has received a plea for help from a woman named Nala Caroline, a member of the Tamarans, another religious group, much smaller, who says that her daughter has gone missing. Not missing per se, but seems to have joined up with a cult called the Radiant Dawn. So you all had gone to Vesiny Lake to check out the site of the attack. You'd found some interesting things mingled in amongst the scorch marks, and you met the very strange abbot of the lake, who I don't know that you've gotten a name for yet. So,
Hey, abbot.
So you all were going to kind of pause mid-conversation with this very strange person who seems to be connected to the lake and the park itself, and resume with some more questions.
Does anyone else hear the sibilant? Oh, there was noise. Now it's slowed down. Maybe it is our fan.
It could be my washer.
Okay.
We got our dryer.
Yeah, and our
running,
dryer's our dryer's running.
It's laundry/D&D night.
Tuesdays are exciting in our house.
Dungeons and dryers.
What?
Anyway, I thought you were talking about something in the park, and I was like, wait, what's sibilant sound in the park?
I did too. It's okay.
Suddenly snake people.
Suddenly snake people.
Oh, that's John's game.
Yep.
Crossovers can happen. It's a thing.
All right, so far we have done some investigating and have figured out that there's definitely fire magic going on.
Mm-hmm.
We already suspected, but
it was a circle of fire magic expanding around a person when the park remembers someone arriving, but nothing about the fire.
yeah.
And just for grins and giggles, anyone who's sort of interested in how this weird thing with this guy in the park seems to be working. Make an Arcana or Religion check.
Woo, Arcana check. Woo, 10.
Hold on. I have to pull it back up.
12.
10.
You said Arcana or Religion?
Yep.
That's our house. 15.
All right.
Religion.
I mean, the rest of you kind of have the gist of what's going on, but maybe not the why. Zyra, you imagine that this is probably a manifestation of a genus loci. It's the fancy dry term, but that this park has a sort of spirit and awareness built up from all the natural life within it. And the spiritualists here have amplified that life through their practices and their preservation of the park, and they've learned to tap into it over time. So the sort of sudden damage caused to this area probably caused a certain amount of trauma to that spirit, causing it to essentially black out for a short period.
Okay. Would I know enough to know that, like, it's like a prayer that could help, that would weave some of that trauma back out?
Make another religion check.
Nat 20, so a 23.
All right. Yeah, you actually it's sort of a random thing, but something weird happens in your head. You're thinking about what could be helpful here, and you have sort of like a beautiful mind moment, but with more of like an artistic bent to it, and like fragments of songs and stories, old songs of healing and nature and water and all of it sort of comes apart into components in your head, and this sort of strange magic that you've become more accustomed to, and it all sort of flows together, and you actually almost on the spot are able to sort of improvise a bardic healing ritual for this space. You don't know that it will perfectly allow it to recapture what happened, but you're 99% sure that this is going to have a pretty profound impact.
Okay. We will do it, every little bit of it. We will fix it like new. We will fix it like new. Also, Zoom knows that I want to be singing right now, and it's letting me know I can set up my professional music and audio settings.
You're bigger, right?
Now, you can set up your professional stuff in audio settings here.
All right. So as you sing this song, this actually might be one of the most, it's hard to put into words. You've been tapping into this magic more and more, but this clicked in a way that is very peculiar. And it there's almost like a resonance to it. Like whatever you did to bring this together in the moment feels more powerful than either just a recitation or some of the magic you've used so far. Whatever you've created, that act of creation has a lot of power to it. And actually the rest of you, I don't even think you all hear the same thing. Like you hear her singing, but there are weird auditory things happening over it. Like there's the nature sounds suddenly grow much louder. Some of you hear instruments. Some of you hear other voices singing in harmony, other voices singing in other languages, and you hear dissonance and just all sorts of weird, almost sort of like oral in the AU sense, feedback hitting all of you as the spell unleashes. And you see the this strange figure you've been talking to go, ooh. And he doesn't seem to be as like the rest of you are kind of by this, but he's more sort of fascinated by what's happening. And as this song washes out, you see it's not like instant healing, but you do start to see grass growing up through these blackened and charred places. It's almost like watching like a time lapse of like a, like after the forest fire, in the next year, the ash will be reclaimed by various, and you start to see grass coming back up, and the guy cocks his head. Oh, huh. It hasn't remembered everything, but that's sort of troubling. Here. And he he reaches out and sort of pokes in the air, and all four of you feel kind of for a second. And you have an image in your head now. It's like you're watching. Take a watercolor painting, like sort of broad, flowing strokes, and the Take On Me music video, and sort of combine those.
Yes.
It's like pencil drawing animation, but you have this sort of weirdly artistic vision of what happened. It doesn't give you perfect detail. You see a figure sort of in shadow, with like they're wearing like a hoodie or something. It would make sense. It's a cold winter night. They're walking through the park. This person is just walking along on this path, and then suddenly walks over to the exact spot you're standing. And everyone make a perception check.
Oh.
4.
Ah, 11. It was cocked, and then it landed.
14.
What did Cyrus get?
13.
13. All right.
We're not very perceptive right now. Mediocre.
So you're not getting a ton of detail, but you can definitely see, you pick up a couple things. So this figure steps out here, and it's, at first you can't see. The silhouette is very dark, they're in shadow. And then it's almost like the air gets a little bit brighter, and you can see more clearly this is definitely a shorter person, and it seems like it's probably a woman standing here. And then you realize the reason you can see is that it's getting lighter. It's getting brighter and brighter and brighter. And then it suddenly like whites out as a brilliant ball of fire erupts over the space. And you see big cones of flame and lines of flame. Um, and because you're tapped in, there is sort of an emotional signature to it. You're feeling sort of the park doesn't panic. That's not the time scale that it moves on. But you can actually feel that absence as the fire spreads. Parts of the vision get dimmer. They become less detailed, more crude, until you're almost looking at it becomes more like storyboard animatics. Only animated every couple of frames. And you watch this figure unleash fire over this space. And the whole time they are brilliantly bright. And then it cuts out.
Any sound?
The sound is what you'd expect. It's very quiet. Some crunching of snow and ice and grass, and then explosive fire. And you can hear the flames. There's a weird quality to the magical fire. And you can almost hear when it catches and natural fire spreads out from this other fire.
Okay.
And all we could really tell about the person was that they were feminine.
Can we tell if they were medium, like a medium-sized humanoid? Or
yes, they were definitely medium-sized humanoid. I mean,
Okay.
they were short for a person, not like a gnome.
Okay.
Makes a difference.
Is Vela short?
That's an excellent question.
You think Vela is showing up to a park in the middle of the night in a hoodie?
I mean, I would say this. Yeah. Just having encountered her, this doesn't look like how she does magic.
That woman's wardrobe does not come down to hoodie level.
To the hoodie level.
It's not somewhere up here.
okay.
And honestly, you kind of gather if Vela wants to light something on fire, she's just going to tell you she lit it on fire.
Yeah, she's gonna do it at night.
Yeah, no, like if she wanted to go start a war with the spiritualists or whoever, she'd go light them up at high noon in front of everybody.
That's my girl.
I mean, I don't heard me say this, but I looked at Joe and I said, unless it was Ulrich's hoodie.
I don't think Ori has a hoodie.
Ulrich may not have a hoodie, but any good girlfriend would steal her boyfriend's hoodie, or other sweatshirt. So
I
she's
can't
gonna
remember.
find something of yours.
Is it a shirt or a hoodie? The I Heart Queensboro hanging on the wall in the apartment.
I have it as a t-shirt.
Okay. I could
She'd probably steal one of his sweater vests. Let's be real here.
And that t-shirt is enshrined. It better still be there when I get home.
I was gonna say the only way I can see Ulrich having a hoodie, just because he wouldn't really get cold, would be like if it was some kind of kitschy tourist thing. Like I think if he was gonna have a hoodie, it'd be like a musical hoodie, or like a
I climbed the 7,000 steps and all I got was this hoodie.
yeah.
It's gonna be a sweater vest. Let's be real here, folks. It'll be a sweater vest.
Yeah, you all sort of think about this, and you're not actually sure how tall Vela is, because she has such a big personality that like her height almost doesn't enter into it.
Yup.
You remember her as tall, You don't know if she actually is, but that's the mark left on your mind.
Yeah. And I think we asked, like, they didn't get like anonymous threats or any sort of like, you got to shut down or bad things are going to happen to you kind of. There were no like warnings of something.
No.
Okay.
Okay, so figure in a hoodie. And then a very, very big fire spell.
Well, and specifically a short feminine figure.
Yes.
And you gather that the part of the reason why you all really need to ask this guy's name so I can just quit like
Sir, what is your name?
He is now Christopher.
Well, I thought he was Sage.
What?
Sage.
Well, he is actually Abba Lake.
Oh, okay.
The highest ranked spiritualist clergy take their name from the place they serve. You gather that what Lake found odd or troubling about that vision was the way the figure lit up before the fire started.
Mm. Would anybody who actually does this recognize what kind of magic that is and whether or not it was the same kind of magic that Bayla does at her?
Well, that's what I was asking about sound. Like they didn't verbal component.
Well, and it's hard to say because you're visually interpreting the sense memory of like grass.
Okay.
Like it's a little more esoteric than just like it heard this or it saw this. That's why it kind of came to you in a weird way. You can say fairly conclusively right out of the gate, you've just spent a lot of time with Blackthorn evocation wizards. This did not look like standard evocation wizardry. It didn't look like Blackthorn wizardry. What it is specifically, you're probably going to have to dig more. What I will say is, no, I don't think that would have come up. You might find someone who has enough expertise to tell you more.
Hey, Yabba. I have a very strange question for you.
Yes.
Say yes, my son.
Could I have a demonstration of your magic again? Just because I'm fascinated by how magic works, and I would like to have a closer look at how your magic works.
I don't see why not. Oh, what would he want to do?
I scratch Lexi's arm and say, heal this.
Thanks.
I don't know.
Well, I think he was going to use a cantrip, and then he goes, oh, all right. And he just sort of gently holds out a hand, and it's incredibly subtle magic. Like, there's the classic components are there, but especially being here specifically in this place, there's barely a whisper. And Cyrus, you still have detect magic up. You see that same effect again, but it's very quick and very small. There's just sort of energy up into him from the ground below, and there's not like a big fancy glowing light. Like, there's no special effects budget. It's like it's like the cut was makeup and it just wiped off.
Okay. What did that look like to the grass?
Um,
Can you ask the grass? What?
I mean, the only way you do with the grass, if he's messing with you, he's not going to tell you he's messing with you. What I would say though is make an insight or religion check if you kind of want to get a feel for what he's up to, who he is.
I got a 19 insight.
All right, that's plenty. He would never like harm this natural space. Like from the way he's been able to just standing here.
Excuse us for a second.
Maisie casts Wall of Cat.
Now we get to teach her what is and isn't an appropriate thing to stand on.
Not surprised that happened in the slightest.
He's practically part of the park.
Right.
Like he's so much a part of this space that it seems inconceivable that he would do something like this. And it doesn't seem like the same sort of magic.
Okay, that's the line I was looking for. Because I know what my magic feels like. I don't necessarily know what it looks like to grass. But I don't know what divine magic looks like to grass.
Well, and you all do have several other places to check in. Because you've still got 2 more attack sites. There's still the Vance River Gathering and the Falmouth Mordry Temple of the 100,000 Paths. But you also have there's the Central Solanist Temple, which is called the Hall of Light. There's presumably a Radiant Dawn headquarters somewhere. You might be able to find them with some research. And Oryx specifically, you know that the Tamarans are out there somewhere as well.
Yes.
And actually, now that you have a specific magical question, this might be a good time to tag in Vela to see if she might have an idea.
Tag.
Are you texting or calling?
I guess we're calling.
All right.
Always.
So it rings a couple times. And Vela's voice cuts through. Oh, thank the gods. I thought that faculty meeting was never going to end. Did you find out more about those fires?
Yeah, so I guess first question for you, do you know any like explosive type spells that are point blank?
That's pretty rare.
I would think so.
Most things you wouldn't want to drop on yourself.
Expand from yourself.
She can kind of hear you in the background and says, that makes more sense. There are a few spells that kind of push outward, but leave the caster unharmed.
I put her on speakerphone.
Oh, hey, everyone. Just for giggles, make an insight check. As you're doing it, have any of y'all interacted with Vela since, like, during this downtime for any reason?
I don't think so. Not other than when we met her at the academy when we caught up with Oryx. I don't think we've actually.
Just me.
Yeah.
So what was the high insight roll?
I got an 11.
What did Cyrus get?
12.
12. This isn't plot important. It's just fun. You catch a little more nervousness than previous. And without having to think about it too hard, you feel like maybe you've been recategorized from like hirelings to like Oryx's friends. And so she's a little bit more concerned about how she presents herself than otherwise. So emanates outward. I just like hand talked my way to my last step of my 10,000. So my watch started going off. So
I have had that
confused.
happen before.
Love it.
Yes, so emanating out is more possible. Was there any other kind of identifier about the magic?
They glowed first.
I mean,
It sounds-
right off the cuff, that sounds more. I mean, anybody can glow, but doing it when you're casting magic sounds a little clericy.
Okay.
Kind of what I was thinking.
Divine magic. Maybe certain kinds of sorcerers.
Would you know of any students who are focused in that area?
Honestly, we have kind of a oh shoot. I wanted to drop a theology deep cut and I can't think of what it was called. Non-overlapping magisterium. We sort of stay in our lane with arcane magic and trust the religious folks to stay in their lane. I might be able to dig up some resources where people have studied it in the past. There's probably a lot like pre-sundering. There were a lot more divine casters back then. I could see what I could pull up.
Yeah. It's also helpful if we can rule out your students.
That's true.
So she sort of thinks about it and says, with the amount of fire that you're talking about, it doesn't sound like any of our current students. There might be like more powerful wizards out there who could do that. But I can't think of why anyone would want to do this.
Mm.
Well, if it's divine magic, or if we think it might be divine magic, I think that might be a good lead for us to follow.
Mhm.
I was wondering about going to check out the Pather site just to see what's different and get a different take.
Yeah, that's a good
Not a
idea.
bad idea. And then maybe after that, try and track down the Radiant Dawn.
Yeah.
Come on, Pokey.
Hey, Pokey.
All right. So you wanted to check out the Pather location?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So make a. I'll give you context first. So as you all head to this Falmouth Mordry Temple of the 100,000 Paths, it's in a denser area of Falmouth. there's a lot of like apartment housing here. And there's a lot of like combined like storefront and then housing up above. There's just a lot of folks in this area. And it seems like you're easily able to pick out the damage. The damage here was much more extensive. It looks like it was sort of it was like a 2-story building, sort of a plain exterior. And you're not sure what the interior looked like because now there is a giant gaping hole in it.
There isn't one.
So there is a noticeably spherical quality to this gap. It looks like there was an explosion that hit it looks like maybe it started at one of the walls, about 2/3 of the way up the building, and then just burned through a huge section of the building, and then at the edges sort of flung some debris and things around, and then more of the building has collapsed since then.
Can
You
we ask about this place what happened?
So this place looks wrecked. Like there's still caution tape up everywhere. This building doesn't seem to actively be in use. You do see a sign that has a website on it.
All right.
Roll a technology check. This will be real easy.
16.
Well, it might be real easy, but I don't think my nat 1's going to get me there.
Oh
Don't-
no.
Oh, it's not
9.
No,
Did
you
you have
roll
a
it.
phone?
You roll a technology check to get advantage on certain checks.
Oh,
Well, in this case, you're just rolling straight for information.
oh, okay. 8.
The one least likely to succeed did well.
I was gonna say, this is a totally wild moment where like all three of you get hung up on something, like it just doesn't work for some reason, whether it's a typo or like your phone catches Wi-Fi from like a building down the road and can't connect. And somehow Auric just like blazing thumbs out ahead of you. And it's like, oh, I got it.
And there's cat pictures.
The cat doesn't stand in front of the camera though.
Rick does seem like someone who would just have like a cat picture app. Like it does nothing but just send him pictures of cats.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, he does.
But you're easily able to pull up the site, and the gist of it is that they've moved into a nearby like upper area, and actually looking at the address while everyone else is struggling with this, you click through, hit the GPS, and you're able to look, and it's actually a building you can see from where you're standing. It looks like there's it's like a 3rd floor. It looks like maybe it's normally residential. It's like the 3rd floor of like 5 floors. 1st floor seems to be like a restaurant. And then it's further up.
Hey guys, let's try that building up there.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
All right. It's a fairly common eatery that you would find all over Falmouth. And I should have come up with a great name for it. I think it's just like the Iron Skillet or something. Like it's somewhere between like family style and diner, kind of in that zone. But you can actually see there's a little sign pointing to a stairwell set to the side of the main entrance. directing folks up to find the temporary worship space. So y'all,
Away we go.
so the door is already open once you get up there. It looks propped, not like crime scene. And it is overwhelming. Like this this room is, how do I put it? Have you ever seen like a massive Funko Pop collection?
Yes.
Who?
Funko Pops. I had some on my desk that I used to hold up for the animal companions in the last campaign.
Okay. Okay.
Figurines.
Imagine like tens of thousands of those. Not actual Funko Pops, but like they're all of like
The same type of figurine.
well, and like few are larger than about this big, but most of them are only like this big, and they are just scattered all over this room on all of these shelves. And you do see a wide variety of materials. You see ones that are like ornate and gold, and they have like beautiful sort of lacquered painting to them. You see some that are little more than just like crude clay, like hand molded. And you see some that do look like pop culture figures. You see some like mascots of like local businesses. You see a little like city mascot. It's like it actually looks like the kitschy raven that you saw in the pawn shop. And they're just everywhere. And there's incense, and there's sort of gentle sound. And you see that there's probably, I don't know, a half dozen people in this room. They're clearly kind of crowded. You imagine this used to be spread out over a much larger space.
Okay.
And you see just lots of little like prayers and offerings. Some people are sort of audibly muttering quietly. You see some who are like lighting some of the candles and incense. You see people writing things and like tucking them up by one of the little statues. It's wild and diverse, and there is kind of a strange electricity to the room. Like you maybe wouldn't have noticed it, except that it's the same substance as the energy you felt in the park, but of a very different flavor. You're suspecting that you're starting to get a feel for like, oh, okay, this is what an excess of divine magic feels like. Just like you'd be able to identify Fae or Arcane or whatever.
Does anybody look in charge? Or
there is, after you stand there for a second, a woman stands up, and she looks like she's maybe in her 50s. And she's still wearing like what looks like maybe a chef's apron or like a server's apron. And she kind of, her knees pop, and she kind of groans a little as she gets up and comes over and introduces herself and says, well, hi, I'm Lorca. Are you all here for worship?
No, we're here. We're investigating the fires. How did you get all the figurines here? Do we see any of them charred? Like, are any of them burnt?
They are noticeably not burnt.
So they fell to the floor after the explosion? How do you were these all in the space in the previous worship space? The big gaping burning hole?
Oh, yeah. So you all saw that. Yeah, most of them were.
How are they still intact?
Oh, it's pretty easy. She reaches down, and it looks like some of the stuff they used to like put the shelves together is still sitting here. And she just comes up with a hammer and turns towards one of them and goes, wham! And the hammer like hits it, and it doesn't even rock. Like, and then she reaches down and just picks it up. And she says, the gods look after themselves.
Do the gods know what happened?
Or do you, for that matter?
She kind of eyes you all a little bit and says, and you all are...
Oh, great question.
NBI badge.
oh, okay. She probably only vaguely understands what the NBI is, but it's an impressive badge, like flashed quickly in front of her face. She says, well, we tried to ask the best questions we could. Honestly, there's only a few, how do I put it? These are very particular gods, specific, local. There's a lot of power in here, but they tend to spread it around more.
To a larger space, or you mean not concentrated into one space?
Less about space and more about the people.
All of your gods operate a power sharing program.
Yeah, there's I hear that like the Solanist folks have got their fancy high priest who can do all those big crazy things, and the Pathers have got a couple of those Abbas, those folks can do some fancy things. Our gods tend to spread their miracles around. Instead of a couple of really powerful people, we have a lot of folks who can do just a little bit. And it's kind of hard to, we're not as good at the big stuff. And that kind of thing tends to be a big thing.
Was anybody there when it happened?
Thankfully, no. They came in the middle of the night, whatever it was. The first we found out was when I'm the owner of the restaurant downstairs, and I do a lot of the property management or I did a lot of the property management for the temple. And the first thing I knew was in the middle of the night, my phone, I was about to say blew up. And that was not a good choice of words. My phone lit up with
Crazy.
notifications from our alarm company that basically everything went off at once. All the doors, the fire alarm, smoke detectors, like all of it went offline at the same time. And by the time we got here, it was, and she sort of vaguely gestures out that direction.
So the alarm company didn't notify you about a break-in, just everything turned off at the same time.
She says, here, I'll show you. And she pulls back the sort of, you can see it came as text first. Make a technology check. I'll give you advantage on this.
It's a 12 plus.
Oh, yeah.
12 plus 5, 17.
That's what I was thinking it would be. Yeah, it's plenty. The texts obviously come in chronological order, and looking at it, you can easily see that they have the sort of zones nicely marked. The window sensors on one side of the building went off first. Then the smoke detectors on the second floor went off. Those things happened before the rest. It seems like there was like an epicenter, and you can almost, as you look back through the timestamps, you can almost imagine this. I mean, it was fairly quick, but it definitely had a notable trajectory to it.
So it's not like the windows were like 5 minutes before the smoke detectors.
No, but you can tell that was what hit first.
Do you know if there are any cameras in the area that we've caught?
Yeah, there should be quite a few. I mean, most of them are pointed, at the like business fronts, but there should be quite a few.
Does her restaurant have any?
I'll go ahead and help out here. Just to avoid rabbit trail. Her restaurant's far enough away that it wouldn't give any like good footage of the building.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to prod into some police resources, chances are good that they've already compiled a lot of these cameras and maybe just haven't had a chance to sift through all the footage yet.
Do we have a connection with the police?
Cyrus can lay his hands on information if he wants to. You also might have another in.
I don't know if Lieutenant Davis can pull it.
Let's say Lieutenant.
Yeah, fair.
Lieutenant Davis. Not
Yeah, not Lieutenant Dan.
You got new legs.
So what do you want to do? Do you want to try and reach out to Davis, or do you want to try and just pull it?
Yeah, I can't pull it. I would have to be at my, like, I don't think I can pull it just from my phone, right?
Yeah, you would probably need some kind of gear, or you might have to reach out to Jace and see if they can pull something for you.
Someone else to look at it.
Yeah, let's ask Davis if he can get it without ringing bells before we go steal it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lexi, do you want to? Well, I guess I'll ask, who wants to interact with Davis?
I mean, Lexi can do it. You know, she's probably the best bet. So,
All right.
what exactly have we? Refresh my memory a bit. What exactly have we found? I'm trying to.
So we want to know if the police department has compiled camera footage from the block of the Pather Temple.
Okay. Camera footage was the key part that I was missing. Like, I know there's something that we need to ask the police for. What is it? Camera footage. All right, so I go ahead and I call Lieutenant Davis and let him know where we are and ask if they've compiled the camera footage together, that could be something we could view. Since we've seen the text messages of the notifications.
He's maybe a little too excited when he answers. But once you ask for that specifically, he kind of like zeroes back in. He seems a little uncomfortable with it, but goes through and you hear him kind of tapping away. It seems like they've just finished going through some of those cameras, since this attack was probably a couple weeks ago now. This was one of the earlier ones. And they've gone through most of it, and he pulls some frames, some like clips. He feels weird just sending you everything because he's lawful good. Well, let's be real.
Yeah.
We'll
I
just
kind of figured.
we'll call it what it is.
Yeah.
But you hear him kind of go, oh. And some images start popping up on your phone. Most of them are pretty grainy, but it does seem to depict someone just sort of casually walking down the street. Again, hood pulled up. They almost seem to know where the cameras are, or maybe it's just luck. They don't seem to turn towards any of the cameras. You're mostly just catching like the back of a hood. And then you get a shot that's like farther away, and here it seems like this is probably the best shot they have of what actually happened. You see like it's only like 10 or 15 frames. You see a hand come up, a bright light gathers on the hand, and then sort of compresses into like a sphere and then projects outward. And there's a second where like the whole thing whites out and you can barely see anything. And you imagine that's the actual moment that it exploded. And all the cameras, the night vision tried to compensate. And so it goes like incredibly bright, incredibly dark. And he sent you all these in a row. And then it kind of settles back to normal. And it catches one clip. And there's a face in shadow. But it turns. It almost feels like it's looking right into the camera. From like a block away. And when it turns, you see two like dots of light at the eyes. And then literally like the next frame, you can tell from the timestamp, the next frame they're gone.
Okay. Glowing eyes. That's a thing.
So is he still on the phone?
Yeah.
So Anybody on your short list got have the juice to do that?
Man, I mean, that's a big spell. I mean, this is going to be very bad very soon. But honestly, I mean, I could maybe do that on a day with a lot of rest and a lot of prayer and prep, and maybe it would still be iffy. I would not bet my life on it. Could do that.
Would it be possible for this to be somebody who has like done something dark to be like super enhanced?
I mean, that
if your normal methods would, require you to be 110% to maybe pull it off, then how would somebody go about doing this? Like, the power behind it is just crazy.
I mean, people that I know of in the church who could do this, I mean, it would almost have to be like one of the eminence. Like, there's only a handful of people who could do this consistently, at least. But things are a little fractured right now.
About that, Lieutenant Davis, do the words Radiant Dawn mean anything to you?
There's sort of a surprised pause. The Radiant Dawn has something to do with this?
We don't know that.
They have something to do with something. I'm wondering if it's connected.
Are you sure you're not thinking of the True Light?
Haven't heard of that one.
That's what I was about to say. I don't know of anyone who could do this before. And if I can't figure out means, motive feels like a good place to go. If there was going to be a Solanist who did something like this, it would be those crazy True Light people.
Do you know, are the True Light and the Radiant Dawn connected, or is that two different trees?
Oh, as far apart as possible. The Radiant Dawn is more, it's very come as you are. Let's get politics out of Solanism. They're I don't know. They're not True Light.
What makes True Light unique? Do you know?
95% of Solanists out there just want to live their life. They want to practice their faith. They want to worship together. On a good day, you might get one of them to invite one of their friends. But honestly, most folks struggle more with passivity than zealotry.
Mm.
The True Light are the other end of that. They're that tiny percent who, I mean, they were bad before the Fae came about.
Mm.
Before that, they were very much, I mean, this is a lot. Before they were confrontational and aggressive and dismissive, and a lot of negative traits all stacked on each other, but they didn't really have a lot of momentum. A lot of times it was just ones and twos, people starting arguments with spiritualists in parks, and mean sign outside of a Pather temple or something, handing out tracts or something. Once the question of integrating the Fae into Solanist theology came around, suddenly their base got a lot larger.
Mm.
Most folks didn't want to pick fights with the spiritualists and the Pathers, but there were enough folks who were nervous about the Fae that they've picked up a lot of momentum. They have they call it a storefront church. It's more of a bunker over in Falmouth. And it gives you an address.
Were there any fires at any True Light locations?
Not yet.
And there haven't been any
Any
Solanists
Solanists. That's
either.
right. Okay, yeah, that's right.
And he does give you a name. The local True Light, the person to talk to would be Nault Manfer.
Oh, it's close.
I was gonna have an O instead of an E.
When I popped up the chat window, it froze our stream for a second, but it's fixed. He says, but be sort of careful. We've booked more than a few True Light members on some weapons charges. Usually very few for discharging weapons, but more for having bigger guns than they were permitted for in places they weren't supposed to have them. So bear that in mind if you pay them a visit.
I gave him a thumbs up and realized he was on the phone, so he can't see it.
I may have just written the name Falwell under True Light notes for my own personal graph of the difference between the Radiant Dawn and the True Lights. I was just like, Falwell.
I mean, if you had to label the other end of the spectrum,
I wrote hippies, but maybe Rob.
And then UCC.
Yeah, UCC.
yeah, probably more UCC, or a contemporary mega church that's not mega, but has that kind of vibe,
Yeah.
I don't know, like a more moderated Rob Bell from back in the day.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, we'll say that you all are kind of, looking some of this stuff up as you go, and actually the sort of primary speaker for the Radiant Dawn seems to be a man in his 40s, Nick Webster, and he actually seems like you see why people would go there. You find some services and some teaching and things online. Nothing sticks out.
I tried to describe the fire circle at the park too, and see if that rings any bells for him.
He recognized it immediately. Just to metagame, it's a fireball spell. Like someone whacked that building with a fireball. And for those who don't know, light clerics get fireball at level 5 added to their spell list.
Right, so fireball on the building, but what about the
gazebo.
The gazebo, that he doesn't really have a good answer for.
Yeah.
Because you can't fireball yourself, right?
I mean, you can.
You could. It's just not a good idea.
Bad things happen.
That's how wild sorcerers accidentally kill their parties. One of the wild magic surges causes you to drop a fireball centered on yourself.
Yep. Which is why I'm not a wild magic sorcerer.
Yeah,
Danger will
almost all of the others they range from like, there's some positive ones, there's some funny ones, there's some that are bad that are basically like lose a turn. And then there's drop a fireball on yourself.
Yeah.
And you can theoretically do it as early as level 1.
I think so.
Yep, right out of the gate. It can also summon a unicorn.
Well, that's cool.
Our daughter wants that spell. Is it a sorcerer spell?
The ability.
Well, in this case, it's a 47 or 48 on the wild magic surge.
2% chance.
Yep.
2% chance off of a like 5% chance because you got to roll.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to roll the d20 first and have it hit.
Although-
Rachel has her whole plan because she's a wizard and she does stuff with her hands. She's like, I'll do this and it'll be your turn. And then I'm going to, yeah, there's a whole thing.
I mean,
I'm sorry, tangent.
Well, and now my brain's running off that direction. I would probably just reskin either Summon Beast or Summon Celestial.
Fair.
But anywho, the radial one he is not as familiar with. Is there anything else he can be helpful with? He's giving you an address for the True Light. The name of their leader, or at least that chapter. You've heard about the Radiant Dawn.
Did Oric get a name for the missing daughter?
Yes, her name is Beery.
Mm-hmm.
So
Beery Caroline.
I don't know if you want to ask or not. I can't remember if the mom had already tried the police.
So Davis can kind of reiterate and expand a little more. Basically, about 3-ish weeks ago, her mother reported her missing because she hadn't heard from her in quite a while. She's like college age, so it wasn't that unusual, but the silence had stretched on much longer than expected. And she had missed some things she had committed to being at. And so the police went and checked up on her, and it did take them a while to figure out where she was. But she seemed to be fine, but wasn't. They filed it more under like a domestic issue, and not really their thing to resolve.
Okay.
Yeah. I was thinking about that, but I was going to wait until we got off the phone with Davis.
All right. Anything else for Davis?
I don't have anything else.
All right. What do you all want to do now?
Well, first I'm going to turn to the party and be like, so according to Davis, Radiant Dawn is like non-violent hippie types. Just love and be loved.
Yeah.
According to the mom of my missing person, it's a dangerous cult. So
What else do you know about this mother if she thinks that the hippies are a dangerous cult?
that is a fantastic question.
Oh.
Because just based on Rachel's personal knowledge of life in general and that giant divide.
So it's possible mom is more of like a teetotaler who doesn't like who her daughter's hanging out with.
Yeah, I mean, if mom is a part of the True Light, then she gonna think that the Radiant Dawn is a cult.
I would also
Mom's not a Solanist at all. So
Or not, yeah.
I'm betting she just got her name wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Or
this isn't somebody deeply embedded in the theology mixing up two groups. This is somebody from a completely different religion
Okay.
yeah.
making a mistake about the name of one splinter group versus another.
Dunning-Krugering. The
Yeah.
Or something more sinister, it could be that there is a group of True Light who's trying to frame Radiant Dawn for something.
Well, sure.
Conspiracy theories.
It's only paranoia if you're wrong.
If anybody asks, blame the Radiant Dawn. Tell them you're with them.
That is what I always told the youth group. If you get in trouble, you're from that church.
Oh yeah, we got that one a lot.
Yeah. We joked about getting t-shirts with like Velcro pull-offs that had like the name of a different church underneath.
Oh yeah.
All right. Who do you want to visit next? Or who do you want to talk to? Or is there anything more you want to investigate while you're in Pather territory?
Yeah, I want to know if you drop one, what happens?
Do you want to try that yourself, or are you asking Lorca?
Like if somebody just like absently pick one up and say, so what happens if you drop it?
Roll a religion check.
It was a +3, 15.
It almost doesn't come off of the like place where it's sitting for you. Like when you go to move it, it's almost like it's stuck, and you manage to get it loose. It looks like a variant of the waving cat almost,
Okay.
but not mobile. And when you pull it loose,
Does it feel heavy? Is it light? Is it
it feels warm,
okay?
and you almost hear like a faint meow.
Fine. Oh, why don't I hurt a cat then?
Come here, Maisie.
I
Bring your wine over.
mean, it's clearly a figurine. Like,
So what does happen if you drop it?
Lorca is just looking in like, please don't drop any of the idols, please.
Oh,
Please
oh,
don't do that.
fair. Sorry. Yeah, and I gently put it, and I like do a little like on the head.
I mean, she says, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's more for you than it.
Yeah. I just, so like the building exploded, and I'm curious, and entropy, and wonder, and there are so many of them. anyway.
And as you look around, you can like pick out you can see a couple of like larger shrines for different deities. But like a lot of these you actually can recognize like for specific streets and stores and neighborhoods. Like somehow the different idols capture the essence of those places in a weird way.
Does it look like a collective map of the city?
To a trained eye, you could probably gather that. They do seem to be grouped semi-geographically.
Yeah.
Make a religion check.
Woo!
Oh, I want to find the idol for the park.
What was it? What was your check?
I got an 8.
8.
And a 16 looking for the idol for the park.
Goodness.
It takes you a minute. It's not like there's not like a consistent symbology at work that makes it easy to figure out. It's almost more of an intuitive thing, but you're sort of scanning across and it actually looks like one of those like cheap solar like sunflowers, the ones that like
That wave?
yeah.
Yeah.
Whoops. I just realized that I called this part 1 again. I fixed it.
So here's my question with it then. Does it look damaged in any way?
Make a perception check.
Oh, not very high. Hold on. 9.
With a 9, it's hard to say. Weirdly, when you examine it, it's hard to tell if there's any like new physical whatever to the idol. You almost feel like you smell just a faint bit of like wood smoke or just smoke in general, but it's just like a passing like.
Yeah. Can we find clues?
Ooh. Yes, make a religion check.
That'll be the last one I'll look for, but 16.
Nice.
You actually find it. You have to like move Lexi out of the way. Lexi, you weren't even looking, and you had just sort of like absentmindedly draped your hand down, and your hand was resting like this far from what looks like a, oh goodness.
Is this Stein?
It is a, it's like a not porcelain, but it looks like one of those like collectible like statuette figures, like something someone's grandmother would have, and it's of like an old, not old, but like a ruddy, fat man wearing older clothes with like an apron, and he's got like very red cheeks and red nose, big thick mustache, smiling hugely, and he seems to be sitting on a barrel that has what is it they market? Is it like XX? They put sometimes on like a big alcohol, 3
Yeah.
X's.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that. And he's kind of like leaning back, like mid laugh.
Because he looks like Charlie Weaver, but that's just my family.
So it's like in the Muppet Christmas Carol, it's the ghost of the Christmas present.
Yes, less hair,
Okay.
but very much the same vibe. That like big, boisterous, laughing, like.
That.
I was gonna say, so I am picturing a animatronic thing that you're gonna have to Google Charlie Weaver. Yeah. So my grandfather had this animatronic doll thing in his bar downstairs when I was a child, and it made this horrible grinding noise when it operated, and so it scared the absolute bejesus out of me as a child. Joe is sending a link to what it looks like, but it does kind of fit.
Yeah, it kind of has that vibe a little bit. I pulled it up on eBay.
Oh, good.
Charlie Weaver.
That's
Yeah, it's creepy. It's terrifying.
Oh,
Would blow out his ears, and his cheeks would light up and turn bright red. And yeah, I was absolutely terrified of it. I now own one. It's still at my parents' house, but of course, of the two of them that my grandfather owned, one went to me.
Nope.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun watching your internal debate of like, do I click it? Do I want to see it? Am I gonna click it? Do I want to see it at all?
Yeah. He's based off of, I guess, a character from a show or something.
No,
But-
it doesn't exist in the world. No.
Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about like haunted dolls? That right there.
No mas.
Yeah, and sleep. I haven't slept well since Sunday. I need to sleep.
Oh goodness.
All right. So where do you want to head to next?
What time is it?
It's 9:35.
Maybe bed. This wake up at 6 to get the cut on the bus stuff is just for the
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what we could learn, but
yeah.
I guess visit the last place, but maybe start with that next time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sounds good.
And I still want to go check out the Radiant Dawn, especially just to see if the daughter's actually there or if the mom has been deceived about where the daughter is.
Mhm.
Yeah. Good parent.
All right. Well, then I'm going to click off the stream. All right. Well, I'm going to go eat a burrito.
Yay, burritos.
Yeah.
Yay.
We're gonna
Alright,
go get the rest of the laundry out and
And go
find the cat.
cuddle the cat for a little bit.
All right.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night, y'all.
See ya.